Londra'dan herkese merhaba. Londra İklim Haftası'ndayız ve şu anda yanımızda değerli bir yayın konuğumuz var. Schneider Elektrik'in Sürdürülebilirlik Direktörü Ester Finidori ile birlikteyiz. Hi, Ms. Finidori. Thanks for joining our program.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
First of all, what are the key takeaways from London Climate Action Week? Anything new, interesting you have heard this week?
First takeaway is that the commitment to climate is extremely strong. I mean, it is obvious, but it's important to say it. There is a tremendous shout of people and very strong consensus on the urgency to act now. Second interesting takeaway is the momentum building around electrification. We now collectively see that electrifying the economy is a good way to reduce CO2 emissions, make economies more resilient, and also improve the competitiveness of local businesses. So the momentum on electrification is extremely strong, and hopefully it will build to new commitments at the next COP.
Electrification is the headline this week. I can certainly say that because everybody's talking about that. And you have also launched your sustainability impact roadmap. And you also say that we electrify the world. What do you mean by that? Can we hear some figures from you?
So as a business, what do? We manufacture electrical equipment from medium voltage to low voltage to create the infrastructure you need to power the economy with electricity. That's why one of the pillars of our sustainability commitment we called We Electrify the World is to be explicit about how do we contribute as a business. We measure that through the way we help our customers save and avoid CO2 emissions. Over the past 5 years, we estimate that we've helped customers save 862 million tons of CO2. So we have this ability, 862 million tons of CO2 saved by our own customers, thanks to electrification and efficiency technology. So in practice, on the ground, you're able to measure the savings that you generate.
This is interesting because I wonder about the scale of the investment needed for this electrification. Because for Turkey, they say that by 2035, Turkey needs like $200 billion of investment. What is that scale for Europe, for example?
So in order to electrify, of course, we'll need to invest and reinforce the electricity grid. We'll need to invest in renewable supply. But what's important is that as soon as we agree on electrification being the end goal, if you plan for it properly, there are things that you can do that are low cost and that will help avoid investing too much. It's flexibility mechanism, learning how to shift consumption so that you can reduce peak demand, which is extremely material in reducing investments. And it's also about storage technologies that are now coming at scale in the markets. If you make it well, at the end of the day, what's important to remember is that it will not be more costly for households. We estimate in our own research that in an electrified system, energy prices for households could reduce by 20-30% if we make things right. So for sure, we need to make sure we funnel the right investments in the grid. But overall, the future electrified energy system will be less expensive for households and businesses.
This is interesting. So can we say that, for example, okay, at the first place, we need $1 trillion investments for the world, but this bill won't be paid by the customers?
Overall, the system will be more cost efficient. I think that's important to understand because, of course, if we pile on investments and it lands meaning that households will not be able to afford their energy, we have an issue. But that is not the case. The future energy system will be more cost effective than the previous one. And energy is already very expensive. So the future we're building will reduce those costs. And I think that's very important for all of us to understand.
For COP31, everybody's talking about that. In Antalya, Turkey is very excited for the summit. And they say that 35 by 35, we will have this 35% of electrification by 2035. Do you think this is a realistic target?
I mean, when you look at China, that is the one country who has accelerated electrification over the past decade, you see that if you're committed to it, you can scale electrification very fast in the economy because it makes good business sense. Heat pumps are cost efficient. EV cars are fabulous. I have one. I can tell you, once you've switched, you'll never go back. So the technologies are ready. And yes, we can scale very fast. Then it's a question of getting organized because there are so many things that need to change. It's changing houses, it's changing buildings design, it's changing charging road infrastructure, it's changing the automotive industry. So it is a topic that will require coordinating across sectors. There will not be one single solution that helps us achieve it. So if we take it as a common goal, it can be achieved, but it will require coordinating across sectors.
Here in London, it is over 30% right now. We can feel that hot. And you're from Paris,
Yes,
I guess.
it's even worse in Paris.
It's even worse in France. So we feel the need of electrification here. But I wonder, this high electrification need, do you think will put pressure on the grids?
Yes, so in order for the future electricity system to work, we need to learn to manage it differently. Currently, whenever you want something, you will just plug and consume. The future system will not work like that. With EV cars, heat pumps, data centers also adding to the load, everyone will need to learn to manage his consumption patterns, taking into account the grid congestion. Is power available now? And that's fairly easy to do. Maybe it sounds complicated, it's fairly easy. If you operate an office building, you can start heating at 5 in the morning. You don't need to start heating at 8. So we just need the right data and price incentives that will help all the consumers adapt their consumption whenever there's decarbonized and cheap electrons available. And by learning to make our consumption more flexible, we can make a lot of progress in making sure we have available power all the time. But it does require change on how we consume electricity.
And we have to have this electrification with clean energy, right? This
Of course.
The key.
Yes.
The renewables, the need for renewables will multiply, I guess.
Yeah, well, when you look at statistics for the past years, renewable has been taking the largest share of capex investments. And there's a simple reason to that. They are the most cost-efficient way to create power supply right now. So I think the economics here will make it fairly simple. And renewable energy will scale. And that's why, by the way, electrification is good. It's the one form of energy where you can build up renewable energy at scale, and economics make perfect sense, and renewable will scale in that context. Yeah.
Everybody's talking about AI and data, and we are talking about electrification. So power and data network. These are the two keys, I guess, for economies from now on.
Well, they kind of work together. First, AI is generating an increase of electricity demand, which of course is creating tensions, but long-term is good news because this will help us invest in the grids. We're talking about the trillions we need to invest. Data center demand will help us make those investments, because if you have more electricity being consumed, you can spread the cost of investments on more consumers. So AI will generate electricity demand increase that will help us invest in the grid. Second thing, AI will help us manage the grid much better. I was telling you just before how we need to learn to make the consumption more flexible. This is not you going to be optimizing every second what you consume on your phone. You will have self-optimizing agents that help manage the load so that comfort is always at the best level while being super efficient and taking into account grid congestion.
Okay, available and affordable.
Exactly.
Right. Thank you so much for joining our program. Schneider Elektrik Sürdürülebilir Direktörü Ester Finidori ile buluştuk. Londra'da sözü İstanbul'a bırakalım.